What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, fresh out of the shower for my weekly shower, obviously. And I've got a lot of insider information on Google Stadia, including the cost of it and some other spicy details. Now, before I get into it, you are right to not trust Google. You are right that you will not, quote, own the games. You are right that there will be lag for a lot of people. However, I believe that the success or failure of Google Stadia is still a positive thing for the games industry. We know that Google is going to throw enough money at this to force innovation from Xbox and PlayStation. And whether or not, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you don't like Stadia, don't take it out on me. I'm not shilling for it. I'm just trying to cover it impartially. So, code word, please like this video. The reason I say that is, if you look in markets where there is little competition, cell phones, for example, what are the incremental changes you get from a Galaxy S9 to an S10? What do you get from the last version of the iPhone to the new version of the iPhone? The answer is the absolute bare freaking minimum that they can give you to get you to buy a new phone. What do you get between a 2018 Ford F-150 and a 2019 Ford F-150? The answer is the absolute bare minimum they can give you. Without third-party or additional competition, people will get lazy. People will get complacent. The entrance of Google into the gaming market, whether you want to invest in it, laugh at it, it doesn't matter. Because it will make PlayStation get better. It will make Microsoft get better. It will make internet service providers get better. And the great news is we can all sit back in the cheap seats and say, I told you so if it failed. Or we can enjoy the fruits of more competition in the gaming industry. Either way, it costs us nothing, and it's a net positive for the industry. I just wanted to get that out. I am not shilling for, obviously, Stadia, but I am shilling for what it will do for gamers as a whole. On the whole. Preparation H is good on the whole. So, just trying to protect my ratio, I guess. But also to make a point, I had a little bit of a rant last night on the stream. I know a lot of people don't want to have anything to do with Google. I 100% respect that. I know a lot of people want to own their games. To that, I would say, if you've bought a AAA title in the past 10 years, you don't own those either. Magic the Gathering stole my entire digital collection because they didn't like what I said online. Companies only let you borrow their games. Unless you're playing entirely DRM-free games or you're playing NES cartridges or something similar, most big budget titles, you don't own them either. Kudos to those who find the ones and support the ones that don't have this always online DRM BS. I'm not a fan of that. But I am here to tell you that I would entirely expect similar features coming from Microsoft and PlayStation, like it or not. We could all get together and rant about it when the new Xbox console comes out or when the new PlayStation console comes out. But make no mistake, Google entering this space is going to change it. For the better, hopefully. For the worse, also possibly. Now, I want to reward you for sitting through that rant and tell you the cost of Google Stadia. Because that's what the title of this video is. The cost, if nothing changes, of Google Stadia is $0. Just as I predicted yesterday. I have had several Google insiders who are beta testing this. It's called Project Yeti inside of Google, by the way. If nothing changes, the service will be free. You will still pay for the games. Will the games be discounted? We don't know. Will there be exclusives on Stadia? You bet. You can bet there will be exclusives. Here's one person's take who is, and I'm going to show you what their store looks like too. Okay? Now, if nothing major changes between now and launch, it will be free as you claimed in your video. Booyakasha. It has a store, you buy your games, and you can stream them forever. Games run amazing on it. It has some slight latency, but that's mostly due to being run on data centers in California, and I'm in a different area. I currently play it at my house with 50 megabit down and 15 megabit up. I've included some screenshots of the store. Internally, we are very excited about it, and it's being done by a team full of gamers. This was a crazy, what if we could type project. Now, for those of you saying, I don't have that type of internet, well, you're right. You are right to, say, well, Stadia is not for you if you don't have that kind of pipe. That's why I hope that Stadia pushes ISPs to get better. We don't know if it will. But it's not this. I saw so many comments where people are like, it's insane. I don't have that kind of pipe. Well, I live in a suburb, okay? I don't live in like an internet mecca. And my current speed test shows I'm getting 355 down and 23 up. I've seen this over 400 and I've seen the upload over 30, and I pay $79 a month. So I'm not like humble bragging or like dumping on you. But I'm also saying like, it's not absurd to have this type of connection speed. And when we see the absolute masters like Digital Foundry testing the latency, we saw yesterday 2 different latency numbers and compared them to an Xbox One X played locally. Their initial test, which did not account for the display latency, showed Google Stadia at a pretty high latency. Definitely significantly higher than PC with 112 milliseconds versus 166. That's noticeable. But when you compare it to an Xbox One X played locally, you have 166 milliseconds versus 145. Maybe the most hardcore gamers could notice that, but I don't think a lot of people are going to. Then when you account for the display lag, okay, you now are looking at 166 versus 145. Oh, wait, that's with display lag deducted. I'm sorry, without it deducted, it's worse. I want to bring that number up because that is absolutely worth. Essentially, the conclusion of Digital Foundry was that it's comparable to an Xbox One X played locally. Here's 166 Xbox One X. This is with display lag deducted, 144. So with display lag on other systems at 21 milliseconds, this is tested at a 200 megabit connection, half of what I currently have. All right. Yes, it's the same as Xbox One X played locally. Now, to the hardcore gamer boys, latency, if you're an FPS player or whatever, let's just agree that Stadia probably isn't for you. All right. Unless you have a premium connection. Yes, when you have no internet, you have no games, but that's also true of many titles out there. Want to see what the store looks like? Let's take a look. Here's the store. Right now, we don't see any spot for reviews. That's concerning. I bet you there won't be. You see games like Final Fantasy, Shadow of Mordor. You see they have 0 price currently, but that's because it's in the beta. But they will have a cost. Will they be discounted? Who knows? Right? Who knows? It looks a lot like a pretty bare bones store, but you've got Doom on there. That's kind of nice. And we already saw yesterday that Doom Eternal and several other titles were already on there. So that's a look at the store. Google Stadia looks like an early beta of the future of gaming. A lot of questions remain unanswered, and that's true. Google's big YouTube and Chrome push, it basically sits on top of Chrome. Chrome plays a big role in Google's dominant web browser, games, Linux, and pricing. They don't know about Linux support. We don't know what kind of games. We don't know what pricing is. I do. Boom. Another Scoopski Madoo. Scoopski potatoes. Will it be subscription-based? Can you have your own games in the cloud? These are good questions to ask. Still, you need a reliable and active internet connection to access Stadia. Google is recommending a connection of approximately 25 megabits for 1080p at 60 frames a second. In an interview with Kotaku, Google Stadia boss Phil Harrison said we'll be able to hit 4K, but only raise that bandwidth about to 30 megabits. That means the average fixed broadband connection in the US is currently around 96 megabits by some estimates. Will be sufficient. If you're living in a state without broadband coverage or relying on rural internet speeds, you'll be stuck waiting on the FTC. But we also know about some bandwidth usage. Watching a regular HD Netflix screen uses about 3 gigabytes per hour. This is more than doubles for 4K streams. Speeds won't cover the latency aspect, the key to the game streaming service. While services like Netflix can download and buffer fixed content you're streaming, a game service relies on picking up your controller movements and relaying them in real time back and forth. Google has a solid advantage due to their pipe. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with Google Stadia, and I think we'll leave this here. What we know is now obviously the console, quote unquote, itself will have no cost unless something changes. We know that you're going to need at least 25 megabits down. I'm going to guess you need better than that. It also needs to be reliable. It also needs to be low latency. When we look at mine, it's pretty low latency. But I also realized that just like when Xbox rolled out their always online DRM, you're talking about huge swaths of the nation that won't be able to use this. It's interesting. I will continue to relay more information as I find it out, but for now, I hope you were entertained, at least by this video, and I'll talk to you again real soon.